はい、フューチャーカード始まります。今日のテーマは AI によって英語教育はどう変わるのかです。このテーマにふさわしい人ということでいろいろ考えたんですけど、このテクノロジーと語学教育の最先端の Duolingo という会社があってですね、皆さんも使っていると思うんですけど、1億人が毎月使っています。この人、アメリカからお呼びして今日は聞いていきたいと思います。これを聞くとですね、皆さんの英語力ももしかしたらアップするかもしれません。では早速ゲストをお呼びしましょう。So Luis von An, welcome to our show.Thank
you for having me.
So you are founder and CEO of Duolingo. Could you explain to our audience what Duolingo is?
Sure. Duolingo is an app to learn languages. It's the most popular way to learn languages in the world.
It's popular in Japan also.
It's popular in Japan. It's popular in every country.
Every country, okay.
Yes. And the main language that people learn is English. And the reason people like it is because it is a stress-free way to learn.
I heard that Japanese people have the kind of record of doing 200 days in a straight row.
Yes, Japanese people, we operate in every single country in the world. Japanese people are the most committed.
Number one.
Yes, the number one. Whenever they start, they really keep going. We have this notion of a streak, which measures the number of days in a row that you've used Duolingo. On average, Japan has the longest streaks in the whole world.
And it's not 200 days in a row.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the average.
It's so Japanese.
It's very Japanese, very committed.
Very committed. So I heard that you're from Guatemala.
I am.
And you were raised by a single parent, and that's why did you found this company?
Yeah, there's a number of things. First of all, my mother really spent all her money on my education, and this allowed me to go to the United States. Secondly, I saw Guatemala is a poor country. And I saw a lot of people not being able to access education because they didn't have money. So what happens is people who have a lot of money can buy themselves really good education. People who don't have very much money don't get very good education and therefore never make money. So I wanted to do something that would give equal access to education to everyone. And in particular, teach English to everyone, because when you learn English, in most countries in the world, knowledge of English allows you to make more money.
So the Japanese people, we have the challenge of learning English, a very difficult task for us. And there are books and schools everywhere, and we're having trouble learning English. Do you think that learning English changes our lives?
Yes, it allows you to participate in global commerce and just in the global discussion. So in every country in the world, knowledge of English is good. In Japan, we see that people are very committed, but a lot of times they're very shy to speak English. And this is why I think learning with an app is really great, because you don't have to be shy in front of another person. We also have a way to practice conversation where you practice conversation just with the app, as opposed to having to
a real teacher or something. Yeah,
which a lot of times you just feel ashamed or shy. In this case, you won't.
If it's an owl, we won't be ashamed.
Right.
Okay, let's move on to the question. So the first question is the 8 billion multilingual. Do you believe that, so how many users do you have in your app, for your app?
Active users, about 120 million.
Wow, that's a lot. Do you think that your app will spread throughout the world, and in the future, like 8 billion people will become multilingual?
I hope so. We're growing very fast. And so I hope we'll get to, at the moment, our goal is to get to 1 billion active users. We're 10% of the way there,
okay.
But we're growing.
Mm-hmm. So how's your app different from like language schools or English teachers or so on?
In a number of ways. The most important way is that it is fun to learn on Duolingo. It really feels like you're playing a game. So you don't, you're not stressed or anything. Our marketing campaign in Japan used the concept of goro goro.
Goro goro.
Yes, where you can just learn on the couch.
Yes.
That's probably the biggest one. Another way in which it is different is that it's free. You can learn as much as you want for free. So the combination of these two makes it so that we've grown a lot.
Do you think that learning language needs a talent, or everyone can learn a new language?
I think everyone can learn a new language. Some people are better than others.
Right.
And we've discovered that the two things that make people better than others, one is just how committed they are. Japanese people are very committed. Yeah. The other one, and this is where it's hard for Japanese, the ability, or when people don't care about losing face or sounding stupid, they're better at learning a language. I, for example, I'm very shy, so I'm not good at learning languages.
You're shy.
I have the same problem as Japanese people. I don't want to sound like I made a mistake.
Or the pronunciation is not good.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like English.
Well, that makes it harder to learn a language, because the people who are better at learning languages, just start speaking, even though they don't sound so good. They just start speaking, but that gets them to practice. Whereas people like me, I never speak because I'm too ashamed, and then I don't practice.
How did you learn English? How did you overcome that shyness?
Fortunately, I learned English very young. So, my mother started teaching me English when I was 5 years old, and that really helped. Yes, but languages that I've learned afterwards, for example, I learned French. I can understand TV shows in French. I have no problem.
How many languages can you speak and understand?
French, Portuguese, Spanish, and English I'm very good at.
How about Japanese?
Japanese, not much.
Okay.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
But yeah, I'm very good at listening. I'm not very good at speaking for all these languages.
So you mentioned 2 points of learning a new language. One is commitment. Japanese people are good at it.
Yes.
We're very majime, we call it. Majime. And number 2, not being shy. How can the Japanese people overcome that weakness?
Well, the more you can practice in an environment where you're not where you don't feel pressure, like for example, the more you can practice speaking to the app. The more comfortable you'll feel.
I think the anime type of character, the owl, it fits to the Japanese culture.
It really does, yes. Yeah.
How did you come up with the idea of using an owl as a character?
Early on, we wanted to have a mascot. We picked an owl because in Western cultures, an owl is a symbol of knowledge. And then it's green because my co-founder hates the color green, and we thought it would be funny to
He hates the color green.
Yes, so we thought it's a joke on him.
It's a joke.
So the company he co-founded is green.
Does he still hate green?
Yes.
Okay. So he doesn't like the owl?
I mean, at this point, he probably likes the owl, but he really doesn't like the color green.
Okay. Let's talk about AI, because we have AI, like automatic translations. Do we still need to learn a new language? Because we can leave it up to AI and they will speak for us.
AI is great, and it's been good for the last 10 years. AI has been good at translating language. For quick interactions, like if you're just going to order a coffee or something, AI is great. But if you actually want to, for example, if you want to have this interview, you need to actually learn English or whatever the language is. So for people who actually need to learn the language, this will continue happening because AI is just going to be good at quick interactions. It's not going to be possible for you to go with like headphones everywhere that do the translation. That's very awkward.
Do you think that learning a new language is not just having tools, but learning a new framework or learning new culture?
Yeah, learning a language helps in a lot of ways. First of all, it really helps to learn the culture. It's really interesting to see what words are in each of the languages. For example, the fact that there even exists a concept of goro-goro, it really allows you to understand.
That's right. Is there an English word for goro-goro?
I don't think so. It's like couch potato.
Couch potato, being lazy.
Yeah.
Being lazy, but in a very kind of positive way?
Yes. I don't know if this exists in English. But so it allows you to really see how other cultures work. The other way in which learning a language helps you is, particularly if you are over 50 years old, it helps your brain stay sharp.
And also, we can move on to the next question, that learning English may boost your income. Do you think that's true?
That's true in almost every country in the world. Yes, I assume that's true in Japan as well.
Yes.
And what's really nice about it is that it's very direct. So, for example, you can also make more money by knowing math. But with math, it's indirect because you have to learn math and then use that to learn physics and then use that to learn some. Whereas with English, if you were a waiter, you can learn English, and then you can become a waiter at a hotel that pays more money. So it's very direct.
So it links straight to the new job.
It really does, yes.
Like compared to math, you have to learn several other things.
Multiple other things. Yes.
So why do you think language is so important in having a new job?
Well, particularly English. It allows you to communicate with, either tourists or the business world. I mean, generally, countries like Japan, really, Japanese is only spoken in Japan.
Right.
So most everywhere in the world, they will not speak Japanese. The same is true for countries like Korea or countries like Brazil, where they speak Portuguese. It just turns out that English is the global language for business and for tourism.
So you came to Japan this time. How many times have you come to Japan?
This is my fourth time. I love it.
Fourth time?
Yes.
What's the best thing about Japan?
Wow. Everything. I mean, everything is so organized. For somebody that comes, I mean, I spend a lot of my time in New York City. It's very disorganized.
Yes, I can tell. Disorganized.
Everything here is so organized, and it's just amazing. I every time I come, for example, you have these robots that are for security.
Right.
That all they do is they flash lights, and people listen to them. If there was such a robot in New York City, it would get vandalized.
Okay. Did you see a robot in some restaurant?
I've seen that. I love it. I love it. The culture is so interesting.
So people love, from like tourists and people from outside Japan love Japan, and I think we have a lot of potentials. But do you think we will unlock our potential more if we learn more English?
Sure, it would help. I mean, certainly would help with tourism. I've had a lot of funny situations trying to explain what I need to do to somebody here. So yes.
Do you think we need more work to do? Because you came to Japan, you speak to the locals. Do you think we need to learn more English?
I do. I think I mean, this is not just true of Japan. This is true of most countries in the world. The knowledge of English here, I think most people in Japan can read English pretty well. But when it comes to speaking, they would rather not speak.
What's the difference between writing and reading a language and being able to speak and hearing a language?
I mean, a language, you have to learn 4 things to learn a language. It's reading, writing, speaking, and listening.
4.
You need to learn those 4 things. They're correlated with each other. The better you can read, the better you can speak. But ultimately, with something like speaking, the only thing you can do to really make it better is to speak. You can be a perfect reader of the language. In fact, you can get a very high TOEIC score and still not be able to speak because you just don't speak.
So I listened to your TED Talk, and I listened to a lot of articles, read your interviews, and one of the missions of Duolingo is to close the gap of like salary gap or income gap or knowledge gap. Do you think language or your app will help close that gap?
Yes, and I think we're doing it already. We have a lot of users throughout the world that are getting jobs because they learned on Duolingo. One that I really like is in Europe, all the Syrian refugees after the Syrian war had to move to different countries in Europe. The most common way they're learning the language of the country they moved to is Duolingo.
Wow.
I feel really
good.
The
refugees are learning English by Duolingo.
Either English or if they move to France, they're learning French. Or if they move to Sweden, they're learning Swedish. But basically, they're learning the local language, and I feel pretty good about that.
So you founded your company in 2011, and what did you feel? What was it like you feel when you heard that story? How did you feel?
Oh, I felt very proud. And around that same time, actually, I heard that Duolingo was the most common way for refugees to learn a language. Around that same time, I also heard that Bill Gates was using Duolingo.
Bill Gates is using Duolingo.
But the combination of this is what made me really proud, because usually billionaires have better things.
Yes.
They have better tools, better everything.
Like private teachers.
Yes, but the fact that Bill Gates was using the same system as refugees made me feel really proud, because more money could not buy you a better education.
So why is everyone using Duolingo, including Bill Gates?
Because it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So do you think fun is like the key?
I think that's the key. It's fun and it's not stressful.
So we're addicted to our smartphones. We have Twitter, X, Instagram. So smartphones make us kind of addicted to something.
Yeah.
What's different between Duolingo and all the social media apps?
Well, what's the same is that we use similar techniques to get people to be engaged. With the app. What's different is that here you're using your time for something very productive, which is learning a language. By the way, of late you can also learn math and music on Duolingo. So it's basically you're using it to be productive.
So people feel better after they use Duolingo instead of, I'm on Instagram for 5 hours. And
yes, that does not feel good. Yes, I felt that.
Do you think Duolingo's a kind of social media? How do you define Duolingo?
I mean, it's an app to learn a language, but it uses the same techniques as social media to keep you engaged.
So you mentioned music and math. Do you plan to expand the topics or subjects in the future?
We do. Right now we have math, we have music. We plan to expand to more math, for example.
More math.
But eventually we'll also do physics. We'll do most of the things that take a long time to learn.
Are you going to disrupt all the English schools or universities or high schools, or what's your vision?
I mean, I don't know that's not the goal. That may happen. The goal is for people to really learn a language. I think learning a language on on a smartphone is cheaper and more convenient and more enjoyable. So at this point, we have way more users than any of the language schools, etc. But ultimately, we don't have anything against language schools. Our goal is just to teach languages to as many people as possible.
So what's your ultimate goal?
For people to spend their phone time on something useful.
That is a good goal. Do you think, so out of a scale of 1 to 100%, how many percent have you reached so far?
5%.
5%. So you have 95% to go.
Yes, we need a lot more.
You need a lot. So you have like millions of users. To me, you seem to be a successful business, but you have a lot way to go. 95%.
Oh yeah, we have a lot to grow, and we're just getting started.
So in order to reach 100%, what do you need? What are the challenges?
The good news is that we're just growing organically. So over time, one of the biggest things we need is just time. But the other thing that we need to do is we need to make it more enjoyable. I mean, every day we work to make Duolingo a little more enjoyable. Ultimately, it's hard to compete with, something like Instagram has cat videos and capybaras and
dogs and
it's hard to compete with that because ultimately we need to teach you a language. But over time, we're getting more and more fun. So hopefully we can be close to as fun as Instagram, but we're not there yet.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. So Luis Von as a scientist. So you were a professor at Carnegie Mellon. Could you tell us about your story, before you founded Duolingo?
Yeah, I was a professor in computer science at Carnegie Mellon University. While I was there, I developed some technologies that are used all over the world. One of them is this thing called a CAPTCHA.
CAPTCHA.
If you've seen it, these distorted characters that you have to type. Or nowadays, you have to click on all the different like traffic lights.
Yeah, it's like a password?
Yes. Yeah, the idea is that humans can do this, but computers cannot. And so that distinguishes whether you're a human or not.
You invented that?
I invented that,
Wow,
yes.
so
everyone... This is like 25 years ago.
That's amazing, because I think our audience knows that if you log into some service, you have to click, which is the bicycle, or which is the bridge.
Exactly, I invented that.
You invented that?
Yes.
Wow. Yes. Mm-hmm. So how does inventing CAPTCHA lead to founding Duolingo? What's your story?
What happened, it was that I was a professor, I invented that, then that turned into a company. And that actually got bought by Google. So whenever you see it now, the company was called reCAPTCHA. So whenever you see it, that was a company that I started many years ago. What that did is it allowed me to, when I sold that company, I didn't have to worry about money after that. So I decided to start a new project, which was Duolingo, on something that I was very passionate about, which is education. So at first, Duolingo was not even necessarily going to be a company to make money. It was just going to be something to teach people languages for free. Eventually it became a company, and now it's a much bigger company than reCAPTCHA. But the goal was mainly education.
So when you think about education, why did you choose learning language?
Yeah, we actually thought about it for a while. At first, we thought that we wanted to teach math.
Math.
Because I love math.
You love math.
That was the reason. But over time, we started thinking about it, and we realized that English is a much better thing to teach, and languages and English. For one, there's more people learning. There's about 2 billion people in the world who want to learn English. That's one thing. There's a lot of people doing it. And then the other one is this idea that when you learn particularly English, you can directly make more money. And so we thought that was a good way to start. We always wanted to teach everything, but we thought, let's start with languages, in particular because of English. And I think that was a good idea in retrospect.
Wow. So when we think about online education, we tend to think about Coursera or online courses, people teaching. Why did you choose an OWL instead of matching human beings together?
I think companies like Coursera, what they did is they took what was in the real world and try to mimic it in a phone or in a computer.
On the online world, yeah.
What we did is we designed something that was native to online. If you are going to use a phone to learn, I don't think the best thing to do is to have a teacher teach you something for an hour. I think it's much better to have something that feels a lot like a game, because that's what people do on phones. So we decided to start it from scratch and what is the native way to do education on a phone.
So it's not just implementing the real world to an online world, but organically building something that fits the online world.
Yes, that was the idea. And by now we probably have, I don't know, 50 times more users than something like Coursera.
Yes. So do you like playing games?
I do. I do.
What's your favorite?
Historically, my favorite game is Mario.
Japan.
Yes, I mean, Nintendo, I'm a humongous fan of Nintendo. When I was 8 years old, all I wanted in my life was a Nintendo. And since then, I have been a huge fan. This is why, I mean, I would love to have Duolingo be like Nintendo, but for education.
Wow.
That is my goal. Also, I love that fact that it's a very old company. I would like Duolingo to last for 100 years.
They used to make playing cards.
I know. It's an amazing company.
So historically, from Mario to which games?
I like Mario and Zelda. Those were my favorite ones. I mean, afterwards, I started playing mobile games. I really like a lot of the games that Supercell makes. So, for example, Clash Royale.
Yeah.
I really like that game.
So Japanese companies are good at creating games. So
Yes.
why do you think Duolingo didn't start in Japan?
That's a great question. I mean, I wish I was Japanese, but I don't know. But Japanese companies are great at creating games, and they're also great at creating IP.
Yes, Mario, Zelda.
Yes, it's an amazing. We want to be as good as Japanese companies at creating IP. We want to be like Pokemon, or we want to be like that.
So you want the owl to be like an IP or a Pokemon?
We do. We're not there yet, but that's what we want.
So if you want to make an owl as an IP, what's your vision?
Well, there's a number of things we need to do. I think we need to have more of a storyline for the owl.
Storyline.
I also think we need to have it everywhere. We need to sell physical merchandise. After this, we're going to go visit some of the merchandise stores. Because we want to do that. We really want our owl to be, household name that is like Pokemon.
Okay, like stickers, like toy figures.
Yes.
Okay.
We want to do that. And again, the goal is to get people to learn. But
not to sell the owls.
No, I mean, for example, we do sell, every year, we sell about $2 million of owl plushies. But we don't make any money off of that. We sell it at cost. But again, the goal is to have people learn.
So I met your marketing officer the other day.
Manu.
He's excellent. And it was interesting because it was different from the marketing techniques of other companies, like paying a bunch of money for commercial. It was different from that. He was using an owl as an IP, Super Bowl commercials. Tell us about your marketing. How is it different from other companies?
Yeah, our marketing is very unique. We don't spend a lot of money on, billboards on the side of buses or famous people or anything like that. Our main goal is to make the owl famous, and that has really worked. I mean, for that we use things like TikTok and Instagram, and when you follow the Duolingo accounts on TikTok or Instagram or X, they're just funny.
Yeah.
They're not, our videos will never tell you Duolingo is the best way to learn a language. That's not what we tell you. We just, the owl's doing funny things. And the owl is a pretty interesting character because it's, all the owl wants is for you to do your lesson. That's the main thing the owl wants. And, every good character has something they want to accomplish. In this case, the owl wants you to learn a language. And then they have an obstacle. In this case, the obstacle is that you're lazy. So the owl will go through great lengths to get you to learn a language. So it has become quite a good character because of that.
And we get push notifications, but we don't feel uncomfortable because we love the owl. So it's like your friend telling you.
The owl is like a crazy person trying to send you push notifications because he's very anxious. He wants you to learn a language. Yes.
Do you think it would be different if it was like a human being telling what you do? You have to learn this lesson. You have to learn this lesson.
I think so. I think the fact that we have a cute character makes a big difference.
That is a very smart idea.
It was on accident.
Yes,
but it got there. Yes.
I'm curious because this topic is about you as a scientist. Are you using techniques of like behavioral economics or cognitive science in your app?
We do. We use a lot of, for the app, we use a lot of techniques to try to get you to come back. The streak is a really good example. It basically gets you to commit to using the app. And people who have a long streak continue using it mainly to keep their streak. We also, whenever you get a notification, the notifications use different things. And different things work for different people. For example, there are some people that are very, very motivated by guilt. So sometimes the notifications say, I've given up on you. And people are like, no, you can't give up on me.
I've got that once.
Yeah,
yes.
We know that some of these things really work.
And I felt sorry for the owl.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love your app because, I don't want to name a particular company, but some social media companies, they use cognitive science or behavioral economics to manipulate a person or to sell something or send you ads. But your ultimate goal is using science for people to learn more.
That is our ultimate goal, and we spend a lot of effort on that. So this is really, the reality is that 20 or so years ago, technology companies discovered that they can use psychology to motivate people to do anything.
Right.
And they do so extremely well. And what we decided to do is use those exact same techniques, but to get you to learn.
In a good way.
Yes.
Do you think that a lot of our apps will change in the future? Because, when smartphones arrived on the market in the 2010s, people were excited about it, but we're in the year 2020s and we're kind of fierce about smartphones and apps. Do you think we are in a way or a path that every app will be like Duolingo and use the science and techniques in a very good way or good manner?
I don't know that. I hope so, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people that say things like, I try to limit my screen time. But the reality is they fail.
No.
They say, I try. They use the word try.
Try.
But they fail.
It's like diet or something.
Because ultimately, it's just the psychological forces that these apps use are so strong that even if you try, most people fail. So I don't know if apps will try to do a good thing or not. But with Duolingo, we're going to try. And I think a few other apps are going to do that. But I don't know if that'll become the norm.
Since you're a scientist, I want to ask you about AI. So I heard that Duolingo is using AI from 10 years ago or something. So general question, what do you think about AI, ChatGPT, OpenAI?
I'm very excited by it.
Very excited.
Very excited. I'm also scared because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it may be that in 50 years, none of us have jobs. I don't know that. Maybe not. But I'm mostly excited because it's allowing us to, in the case of Duolingo, it allows us to teach better. For example, we now have this feature that was not possible 2 years ago, which is called Video Call with Lily.
Video Call with Lily.
Where the idea is that you practice actual conversation. You really are talking in English to Lily. And she talks back and she has a full conversation with you. This was not possible 2 years ago.
So on back of Lily, there's AI running.
There's entirely AI.
Okay.
And the conversations that she can have are exactly conversations you would have with a human, but she adapts to your level. Again, 2 years ago, this just was not possible.
So 2 years ago, what happened in your company? Did you shift did you invest heavily to AI?
We did. We started investing.
How did you make your decision?
The first time we had access to GPT-4 about 8 months before the world saw it.
8 months before?
Yeah,
wow.
And the first time I saw it I was in my office and I saw it and I had basically a conversation with it. And I walked up to the person who is the head of how well we teach. We have a whole area of the company that is trying to teach better. I walked up to that person.
Oh, you have a division of...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I walked to that person and I said, this is the only thing you're going to invest in from now on.
Wow.
And so within the next few days, really everything started investing into that.
That is really quick.
With this, the first time you see it, you say, well, this is amazing.
But it's very difficult for a CEO to make such a big decision in a few days.
This was not difficult for me. I mean, this was not difficult. It became very obvious.
Why is that?
Because I had never seen technology this. I mean, I've been working, when I was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, my area of research was AI. I've been working on AI for, 15, 20 years. When I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is much better than anything I've ever seen.
Wow. So it was beyond your imagination. Yeah, Even a professional like you.
I did not think we were going to get to this spot where we are now for another 20 years.
So this leads to another question because you are an expert, so you know the future, you know how AI...
I don't know the future.
You don't know the future, but you know the field. But
yes.
how can you convince the other team members because they haven't seen AI? ChatGPT is not that popular at that moment. How did you convince them?
I think it was not that hard. I think what I did is I said, just play with this for an hour and then come talk to me. And then people started doing things like they started asking it to write a poem for them, and it would write a poem. They started asking it to write a poem that is, in the form of Shakespeare, and it would do that. They started asking it to write a poem in the form of Shakespeare, but that it was about fried chicken, and it would do that. Just anything, and it did it so well that people are like, this thing can do almost anything.
Wow. I like you use the word play because, Japanese CEOs and Japanese bosses tend to make an order and do this. You have to do AI. Yeah. And people kind of refuse.
That doesn't work in the US.
It doesn't work in the US.
Okay. I don't know if it works in Japan.
It doesn't work. Okay. So you asked them to just play with it.
Yeah. I mean, the style of CEO that I am, I have a hard time giving orders. I have to convince people. And in our company, there have been many cases where even an intern, I'm saying something and the intern tells me, I think you're wrong.
Okay. Wow.
Which I know in Japan culture would be unheard of.
Impossible for an intern to refuse an order.
I have had lengthy arguments with an intern.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you see yourself as a very open-minded CEO rather than like a bossy, masculine, dictatorship?
I think so, but I don't know. You would have to ask the people that work for me, but I think so. Yeah.
Do you think AI will change the structure of any company, like this hierarchy or something?
I think AI will change a lot of things. Already at Duolingo, a lot of the things that we used to do by hand are now being done by computers. So, for example, we used to do a lot of the language content was being done by humans. Now it's done by computers. So the nature of work will change.
So my next question, I'll pick a joker, and I have to play the devil's advocate. So we talked about AI and discussed AI. So do you think that in the future, people will just use ChatGPT and not Duolingo? They just use ChatGPT to learn English or learn math or learn other skills?
I mean, that's possible.
It's possible.
The reality is you can learn a language or you can learn math with ChatGPT, but that is not new. I mean, you could learn a language by yourself or math by just reading a book. This has always been possible.
Yeah.
It's just that people don't do it because they're lazy. What we are good at with Duolingo, yes, we teach you a language, but the main thing we're good at is keeping you motivated to continue going. And that part, I don't know if something like ChatGPT will get good at. But we're basically, you can think of us as a game. Just people really want to play this game. It turns out that while they're playing the game, they're also learning the language.
So this is a kind of interesting topic because do you think that AI in the future will help us motivate or encourage or play with us?
Probably, but there will always be room. I mean, just like there are different games, there will always be room for different systems to be motivated.
And in that case, we still need Duolingo in 10 or 20 years.
I think so, yeah.
Because of the fun part, the plainness?
Yes, and because this is partly also why we want the OWL to be a unique IP. I mean, we want it to be the case that people want to come to learn with us as opposed to just learn.
So like Mario, we feel personal connections.
Whenever a new Mario game comes out, it's Mario.
Yeah.
It's not just a game. And a lot of times the game is very similar to every other game.
Right.
But this is the Mario game. So this is why we want it to be, the OWL to be as popular as Mario.
That's a good point because I like playing Mario Kart. There's a lot of car racing games.
They're the same.
They're same, but
yes, but Mario Kart has Mario, has the banana peel, has
Luigi.
Yes.
So do you think that OWL will be like a personal connection between Duolingo and users and people will feel more comfortable learning from the OWL or...
That's the goal. That's the goal. And that's something we need to learn from Japanese companies because I think Japanese companies are very good at that. I mean, again, there's a lot of card games made in everywhere in the world. But it turns out people really want Mario Kart.
Do you think like Sam Altman will like copy your technique and suddenly come up with a character of ChatGPT or...
I don't know. Hopefully not.
Do you know Sam Altman?
I do.
How's he like? What kind of person is he?
I mean, I think he's a great leader, and he's very committed to, developing AI, and I'm glad that he is.
That's why you got the ChatGPT for 8 months before you.
Not exactly because I know him, but many people in our company know people at OpenAI.
Wow. So there's like a community of like AI specialists, and even the professional think this is like a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So in that case, we want to lead to this next question of personalization. So first question, how can you use AI and personalize like the teaching method of Duolingo? What will be Duolingo in the future?
Yeah, we already do that.
The
reality is that every time you start a lesson on Duolingo, we know everything you've ever done on Duolingo, all the questions you got right, all the questions you got wrong. And whenever you start a lesson, we build a lesson specifically for you. So for example, if you always get the past tense wrong, we give you more things related to the past tense. So it's already personalized. And I think for me, the most important thing to personalize is actually the level of difficulty. There are a few other things. People say, you should personalize to, like, I really like playing soccer, so you should teach me a language based on soccer. I don't think that works that well. I think what works really well is just personalizing the level of difficulty.
And if you get these kind of data, the Duolingo will become much smarter. And do you think it will have like a great insights of like how people learn English differently according to the countries? For instance,
we already do.
You already do. Okay.
We already do. It turns out that what's different about learning certain languages really varies per country and per the language that each person knows.
As like a mother tongue.
Yeah, that really makes a huge difference.
Do you have any interesting findings about Japanese people? Any interesting findings, insights?
Japanese people, I mean, I think the biggest one is the one we've already talked about. Japanese people are unique in that they are more committed, are probably better at reading and writing, and much worse at speaking.
Wow.
Yes.
And that's because maybe we're shy.
And I think that's the reason.
That's amazing because the amount and the quality of data you guys have is totally different from Google or OpenAI. It's very rich, very personal.
About learning a language.
Learning a language.
Yes.
How can you make useful of that data in a more interesting and more useful and important way for the human being?
Yeah, we do. We use all of the data we have to try to teach you better. And so we have every single day is more than 1 billion exercises are solved by people around the world learning a language. So we use all of that data to teach better. And it really is, every year we're teaching better than the previous year.
Wow. So does that excite you? Because we have AI, you guys have the data. Imagine what you guys can do in the future, like even next year.
It's very exciting. I mean, it's very exciting. And also because we're expanding beyond language learning, I really want to do a good job teaching math in particular.
Because you like math.
Because I like math, yeah.
So how do you think that when people start learning math, how that will change the world?
The hope is that everybody becomes, I mean, ultimately, it's not that I need people to learn all aspects of math, but I think that knowledge of math makes people think more clearly. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that. And depending on the country, Japan has a very good education system, but a lot of countries don't, and including the United States. It's amazing that people sometimes can't even read a standard like bar graph. Right. They can't really. So I would like it to be the case that people can read a bar graph, can kind of have general knowledge of statistics and things like that. I think the world will be a better place.
That is an interesting point because I don't want to talk about politics at this show, but this time of the year, there's fake news, the international relations are messed up.
Tariffs. Yes.
But we need to think logically. Even looking at simple graphs, we can understand why tariffs don't work or those simple economics.
I really think the world would be a better place if everybody thought more logically.
And we can learn that by learning math.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So if people learn math and English via Duolingo, do you think the world will be a better place?
Yeah, I think so. I think generally education is a good thing.
So, Luis, we need to wrap up. Any final comments, final word for our audience?
No, just thank you for having me, and I hope everybody can learn English and math on Duolingo and music too.
How about a message for our Japanese audience because they're so committed to learning an English new language.
Thank you for being so committed, and we'll continue making Duolingo more effective at learning a language.
Okay, thank you so much. 皆さんぜひチャンネル登録の方よろしくお願いします。So thank you, Luis Fon, and thank you for joining our show.
Thank you. ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。You learn Japanese?
A little bit.